Waters are fast-moving.
Unlike other big rallies,
Bit earlier at about 7 a.m. A group
Welcome to #PHVote 2013.
Today on Rappler, the Philippine Justice Department wants to cancel the passports of those involved in the Malampaya plunder case.
From day one po, sinabi po namin na yung hospital arrest, nabenta na yan. Marami nang gumamit ng hospital arrest defense na yan.
Napoles' lawyer says her client won't use a wheelchair defense. And Snowden documents show the National Security Agency monitored calls of 35 world leaders. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. The Philippine Justice Department defends its request to cancel the passports of 37 people who face plunder complaints over the pork barrel scam. Included in the list are 3 senators, Jinggoy Estrada, Juan Ponce Enrile, and Bong Revilla. Revilla criticized the move, saying it's, quote, ridiculous for the government to cancel passports when the ombudsman hasn't decided on whether there's probable cause to file charges against him and other respondents. Justice Secretary Laila de Lima says in Filipino, it may be ridiculous for them, but is it ridiculous for millions of our people who suffer poverty because of the plunder committed by the public respondents? De Lima also says justice may also ask the Foreign Affairs Department to cancel more passports, this time of those named in a plunder complaint over the alleged misuse of the discretionary Malampaya Fund. Respondents include former President Gloria Arroyo. De Lima says the Justice Department made the request, quote, in the interest of national security. Foreign Affairs Department says it will make a decision based on written comments from the people concerned. A day after alleged pork barrel scam mastermind Janet Napoles is brought to the hospital, her lawyer, Lorna Capunan, says Napoles will not use a wheelchair defense or ask for hospital arrest while she faces illegal detention charges.
Gusto ko lang sagutin yung suggestion or yung insinuation ng mga iba dyan na nagsasabi na meron daw kaming wheelchair defense, no? At darating daw si Mrs. Napoles doon sa Senado na naka-wheelchair or worst, hihingi daw ho kami ng hospital arrest. From day one po, sinabi po namin na yung hospital arrest, nabenta na yan. Marami nang gumamit ng hospital arrest defense na yan. We are Mrs. Napoles herself is very grateful that the resident doctors are taking care of her and are consulting with her own physician.
On Thursday, Napoles was brought to the hospital because of pain, nausea, and vomiting. Capunan says that as of Friday morning, Napoles is getting better.
Na-verify, totoo naman na nagkaroon siya ng abdominal pains early morning. Well, this gallbladder is, problem with the gallbladder is good, but we understand that she had been complaining of stress recently and inability to sleep at night. No? Pwede rin na, although I'm not a doctor, na this could be a complication of her diabetes.
Napoles is scheduled to appear before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee on November 7 to testify on the pork barrel scam. Pork scam whistleblower and former Napoles aide Ben-Hur Loy takes the stand during the hearing for Napoles' motion for bail. Napoles and brother Reynald Lim face charges for allegedly keeping Loy in custody from December 2012 to March 2013. Loy is the prosecution's last witness. He tells the court Napoles ordered him detained because she believed he betrayed her. Napoles suspected Loy of siphoning lawmakers' Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF, from her business. She allegedly told Loy, "No wonder my PDAF was reduced. You have hidden transactions with the chiefs of staffs of senators." Loy says this happened on December 19, 2012, inside the JLN Corporation office in Pasig. He says both Napoles and Lim threatened him while he was detained. Lim allegedly told Loy, "Ben-Hur, I'm a convicted criminal. My life has no purpose. I'm willing to kill for my sister." Loy says Napoles and Lim kept him close because he knew a lot about Napoles' transactions. Army Major Harry Balyaga Jr. posts 40,000 peso bail after charges he was among those who kidnapped activist Jonas Burgos. Burgos' abduction in 2007 triggered a massive human rights campaign led by his mother, Edita. The military denies he is in their custody. They also claim Burgos is a member of the New People's Army. The Armed Forces says Balyaga was relieved from his post but remains an active officer of the Philippine Army. 4 days to the barangay polls on Monday, the Commission on Elections, or CAMELEC, still needs to put together 400 million pesos. The Education Department, the police, and military officials originally asked for 500 million pesos for the conduct of the polls. Of the 500 million pesos, CAMELEC only has 100 million pesos so far. The poll body is trying to raise the funds by requiring local government units to utilize 10,000 pesos per barangay in the upcoming polls. But barangay officials protest the CAMELEC requirement. Philippine Police is closely monitoring 7,060 barangays that are in the elections watch list areas. As of October 23, 19 people have been killed in election-related incidents. The Philippine Foreign Affairs Department backtracks on its protest over concrete blocks allegedly installed by China in the disputed Panatag Shoal or Scarborough Shoal. On Thursday, Foreign Secretary Albert Del Rosario admits the Philippines is not ready to file a diplomatic protest against China. He adds, "We don't have a determination of the facts." In September, he said the Philippines has, quote, a substantive piece of information to back the protest. Del Rosario's statement comes after President Benigno Aquino said he is not convinced China placed the blocks in the South China Sea, what the Philippines calls the West Philippine Sea. Aquino contradicts his defense officials who repeatedly claimed China placed at least 75 concrete blocks in the shoal. Talking to reporters in Brunei on October 9, Aquino says a closer inspection showed barnacles and moss covering the concrete blocks. He says this means the blocks weren't dropped or, quote, placed there recently. Aquino adds, "We don't accuse until we have proof." How do you recover from a magnitude 7.2 earthquake? Residents of Loon, one of the hardest hit towns in Bohol, say they don't know where to start. Walter Tupas reports.
57-year-old Antonio Lacien lost his mother and his house to the earthquake. The wake is held in the tent where Antonio, his wife, and his father now live.
Mama was sitting outside when the earthquake suddenly struck. A hollow block fell on her, breaking her back and leg. It is difficult. People have been struggling since the earthquake. Everyone was affected. Houses were destroyed.
Nearly 64,000 other families across Bohol share Antonio's dilemma. They live outside their houses, in evacuation centers, and in rice fields. Evacuees get soaked when it rains. Many are sick. There are no toilets in many evacuation sites. An ideal evacuation site includes segregated toilets for men and women, bathing cubicles, water supply, a kitchen, and even space for children. The Department of Social Welfare and Development says plans are underway to give decent facilities to victims. It has provided 153 laminated plastic tents and finished constructing its first makeshift hospital.
Here, you see a typical evacuation center. This is a school ground for those people who could not return. No? So in here, they will be staying in a camp or a camp-like setting, or what we call an evacuation center, complete with wash facilities. Okay, because the requirement for setting up a camp or an evacuation center based on humanitarian standards is to put in all the needed facilities.
But these new tents are only good for a month. The government is now figuring out how to build more permanent shelters.
In the initial phase, because beyond that, there has to be a temporary but a little bit more sturdy type of housing facilities that they should have.
More than 52,000 houses were damaged. Rebuilding homes, that's the next stage. The National Housing Authority is helping people who can't avail of programs offered by the GSIS, Pag-ibig, and SSS. Antonio doesn't know how, but he says he'll pick up the pieces after he buries his mother.
I'll find a way to solve this, to recover from what happened. My house was destroyed. I will strive to find the means to repair it because it's ruined.
It's a long road to recovery between government's good intentions and actual implementation. And for simple folks like Antonio, navigating the bureaucracy is almost as nerve-wracking as an earthquake. Voltaire Tupaz, Rappler, Bohol.
A classified document provided by whistleblower Edward Snowden shows the National Security Agency, or NSA, got the numbers of 35 world leaders from officials in other U.S. departments. The Guardian reports a confidential memo reveals the NSA asked senior officials in the White House, State Department, and the Pentagon to share their Rolodexes so the agency can add the politicians' phone numbers to a surveillance program. An unnamed U.S. official handed over 200 numbers, including those of the 35 world leaders. A Chinese court on Friday rejects politician Bo Xilai's appeal against his conviction and confirms his life sentence. Last month, he was condemned to life imprisonment on charges of bribery, embezzlement, and abuse of power. Until 2012, Bo headed the southwestern megacity of Chongqing and was one of China's highest-ranked politicians. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 2, the Internet Governance Forum in Bali, Indonesia is the 8th international meeting and the first held in Southeast Asia focused on internet policy and governance. This week's meetings are against the backdrop of a global conflict. Did the United States spy on more than 30 world leaders? Many sessions focused on privacy and big data, putting the United States, China, and Google in the hot seat. At number 6, Twitter sets a price range for its initial public offering. The social media company plans to sell 70 million shares at $17 to $20 each. The New York Times reports the offering would raise about $1.3 billion US and would value Twitter at about $10 billion, excluding options. Analysts expected Twitter to raise its price per share because of its fast growth. And at number 8, a new study by the Pew Research Center shows about a third of Americans surveyed get their news on Facebook. But nearly 80% of respondents say they weren't looking for news. They stumbled upon the news while they were checking what their friends were doing or while they were sharing photos. Study also says heavy news consumers did not describe Facebook as an important source of news. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page. That crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have affected our readers and viewers the most emotionally. These 10 stories have gotten the most number of votes on the mood meter. If we take a look today, the story that's gotten the most number of votes in the last 24 hours is this one. Napoles brought to hospital because of nausea. You have an interesting 18% amused and 58% angry. This story, Bohol, the rebel mayor who said no. Interestingly, 71% happy, 15% inspired, 8% angry. And let's go to Instagram, heads to Windows Phone, 9% amused, 14% afraid, 53% happy. That green, as you can see, is picked up in other stories of the day. That green is the mood of the day. It is Friday today. Most people are happy. Well, that is Rappler's Newscast for today, Friday, October 25, 2013, the last Friday of October. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.